How many of y'all good at Madden? How many of y'all good at NBA 2K? How many of y'all play Mario Kart? That's what I'm talking about. That's my game right there. So, right after our next presentation, our next speaker, we're going to have an e-sports gaming panel. So, for all of you guys that are into video games, if you don't know, you can now get paid for playing video games. There's an entire league. So make sure right after our next speaker, you guys stick around and hang out for that one. All right? If that's cool, say, oh yeah. Cool. Bringing up our next speaker. We'll drop some knowledge. The president of Cal State Dominguez Hills, Dr. Farhan. Y'all make some noise.
You say good morning?
Good morning.
Oh, I don't think you heard me. Good morning. DJ Snow, come here for a minute, brother. Because I love his 3 lessons. Every moment is a teaching moment. But there's one I want you to focus on that hit me when you were talking about it's better to grow up than grow up, right? But one of the things he didn't tell you about his work, even for the old school heads and us that don't hear or listen to a lot of rap, but I know about this brother. But one of the reasons why he is successful, right, and I need you to hear me on this one, right, is because what he did is he produced excellence. And if you learn how to produce excellence, excellence will bring you opportunity. You will not have to tell anybody how good, how smart, how dope you are, right? Opportunities will just come oozing out the woodwork. And that's what's happening with the brother. Not just because he's black, not just because he's good, but because he produces excellence. One more time, if you want to know, if we're about to talk about what are the challenges of African-centered illness, you've just heard about some of those challenges. But if you want to know what you can do to be able to push it, what you got to do is produce the same kind of excellence this young brother does. One more time, if you would. DJ Smoke. I'm gonna get a little help. I'm gonna try to be about 15 minutes. Because I know I'm standing between you and the Esports Academy that I have stood up. I'm proud of that academy we stood up on this campus. How many of you know we have an Esports Academy right here on the campus of Cal State University Dominguez Hills? So if you want to think about where you should go to college to study some of this, right? If you want to think about coming here. Well, why that? Remember that esports is, to me, a strategy, not an outcome. Because if I can teach you how to code, if I can bring you into that academy and invite you to develop a story about your avatar, and then have your essays corrected by the faculty, if I can teach you that every time you got to toss a projectile to either build a city or destroy an opponent in your game, there's some a squared plus b squared equals c squared math that's in there. There's some science in there. There are other things. There are tangible intellectual assets that you can then take, put in your pocket, and take back into the classroom to help you better manage the rigors of your curriculum, both in high school and in college. So when you think about esports, don't just think about the game as the game as the game. Esports is a strategy, not just an outcome. The strategy is to equip you with the skills you need to be successful. So young man in the bottle, I need you to hold down on that bottle for a moment, right? I know the human attention span is all of like 22 minutes, I'm only gonna be 15. So however you take notes, pull your phones out, let's take some notes. So, let's go to the first slide. I'll start out with a set of assumptions. And I want you students to be clear about this. Number one is that there's a parallel process between the law of digestion and the way in which you eat and digest food, and the strategies that we should employ in working with young men of color. So I'm talking about black men, right? Latino brothers and sisters. I'm talking about Asian brothers and sisters. I'm talking about poor white folk. I'm talking about everybody. There's a law of digestion. So think about what you ingest in your mind and your spirit. And the law of digestion says that some of that you gotta be able to absorb because it's beneficial, like nutrients, and some of it you got to expel from your body in the same way that the law of digestion works. Second assumption I made is that there's a difference between your maleness and your manhood. Let me say that again. There's a difference between your maleness and your manhood. Being a male does not make you a man. Also, there's a fundamental difference between what you do for a living and who you are as a person. I am a psychologist by training. I was a PhD and a doctor at 27 years of age. I'm a president of a university. That's what I do for a living. But who I am is a devoted husband to my wife. I'm a nurturing father to my children. I got 2 girls, all of them grown. I try to be a supportive sibling to my brothers and sisters, a devoted son to my parents when they were alive on the planet as they now walk with their ancestors, and a strong black man in my community trying to make the community better for a whole multicultural rainbow of people that we represent. There's a difference, young men, between what we do and who we are. And young ladies, pay attention to you because these are the young brothers that you need to be looking for later on in your life. And also, I need you to understand that each of us may come from circumstance, but we are not our circumstance. Let me say that again. We may come from circumstance, but we are not our circumstance. You may come from, poverty, but still have a rich spirit. You may not have performed well in school or have a school that's not performing as well as you would like, but it doesn't diminish your intellectual capability. You may come from violent surroundings, but still have a peaceful heart. Do not let anybody define you by the circumstance you come from. Make sure that you know who you are at the core of your being. Let's go to the next slide. So I want everybody to repeat after me. Existence has a face on every side.
Existence has a face on every side.
And every face teaches a lesson.
And every face teaches a lesson.
And those of us that truly understand existence.
And those who truly understand existence
should never separate the faces from the lessons they teach.
should never separate the faces from the lessons. Say that now.
So that's what the knowledge holder says. Let's go to the next slide. So when you look at a collage of a lot of our heroes and sheroes, we spend too much time worshiping personalities, but we never study and embrace the principle. How many of us think Dr. King was a hero? How many of us have read his book, Strength to Love? Take a look around the room. We worship personalities. Who believes Malcolm was a hero? How many folk have read Message to a Black Man? Now, how are you going to study Malcolm and not study Malcolm's teacher, who was Elijah Muhammad? We worship in personality, not study and embracing principle. So the goal is, if existence has a face on every side and every face teaches a lesson, then we should never separate the faces from the lessons they teach. Next slide. So if you think about Dr. King, if you think about Barack Obama, if you think about Ben Carson, the brilliant surgeon, and I don't happen to like his politics, we get caught up in the politics, but he was the most brilliant pediatric surgeon on the whole planet. To this day, he probably still is. How do you come out of the social circumstance he did and still do what he does? Barack Obama the same way, now hanging out in Chi-Town. Rises up to do what? Not only class of Harvard Law Review, but President of the United States. And always one of my heroes, Dr. King. Next slide. So the question is, if existence has a face on every side, what lessons do those faces teach us? Let's go next slide. So I'm running through these quickly. One lesson Barack Obama teaches us is that family is the essence of my maleness. I, as a black man, cannot be all I can be in absence of a relationship with my wife and my children and my siblings and my community. Brother Hakeem Al-Abuti wrote a book called Black Men, Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous. And in that book, he talked about those who pretend to support black community are just pretending. They can't do so without first supporting strong families. Why? Because the family is the smallest and the most salient, the most important element of community that there is. Also, perseverance through adversity. Each of those individuals had to persevere through some level of adversity in order to make it to where they arrived. You've got to be able to persevere through adversity. It may be darkest in the night, but when the moment comes, everything won't be all right. We got to be able to persevere through adversity. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Inglewood, in LA, in Compton, wherever you are. Everybody is going to go through instances of unjustified suffering, unmerited pain, and undeserved harm. The question is not does stuff happen. The question is, how are you prepared to move through it to get to the other side? That's what you heard this morning even from Dr. West. Also, strength is not military might, but rather the ability to reach out with an open hand of friendship and opportunity to others. We run around the streets acting hard as if somehow, right, we are strong because we building muscles and we hard and we whatever. That ain't real strength. Young men and women, you will never find out how strong you can be until your moment of greatest vulnerability. Everybody say that with me. I will never find out.
I'll never find out
How strong I can be
how strong I can be
until my moment of greatest vulnerability.
until my moment of greatest vulnerability.
It's easy to be strong when things are going well. From the zero line forward is not where strength is. It's when you got to be all the way down, the -2, 4, 6, 8. And you got to come all the way back to the positive side house where strength is measured. So don't be afraid of the vulnerability that you are. We run from some of that. Lean in and embrace it sometimes. Why? Because that's where you find out the character that you have. And that's where your strength is measured. And that's what each of these folk had to do. Let's go to the next one. What does Mark teach us? He teaches us that in order to write the secret sauce for that formula in his Strength to Love book, the reason I mentioned that to you is because he said you got to have a tough mind and a tender heart. Right? Violence is not the way. So I love his nonviolent confrontations. What we want to do is be able to, right, work out our disagreements by having to be violent. That's the way of the streets. And while it, right, gives you an artificial, right, label of inhumanity, it really is manly. Why? Because the viability and the longevity of that kind of lifestyle is not very long. He also teaches us, right, that you got to love your enemies. You don't have to forget your enemies. Right? You got to work with them. You don't even have to like them. Right? But you can love their humanity even though you critique their behavior. We got to figure out a way to love our way through the darkness of adversity. That's the lesson he teaches us. Next slide. Ben Carson teaches us when he was sitting at his home in Detroit and hanging out. And he teaches us in his books that imagination was the road that took him from where he was to where he could be. He just imagined about the possibilities. Why? Through reading. Why is reading fundamental and reading so important? Right? Because that's what's there. Also, he talks to us about talking to our children and our peers to socialize them properly. And he talks about, which is one thing I agree with, that we do not have to be victims. We should never allow misery to have the last word. Some folk don't know this president happens to be a cancer survivor. Cancer survivor, 4 years now. And he's had my checkup the other day. But understand what you're passing for. One of the reasons why Cornell and I are such good friends. Because Cornell helped me get through that. Because he wrote a line in one of his texts. And when I was a psychologist, treating patients, I don't have time to treat patients anymore because I'm running universities like this. But I would teach my patients when they come in to see me, I said, you should never allow misery to have the last word. And all those days and months I went through chemotherapy, and you're feeling sick and down, and you don't even know whether you're going to make it or whether the Lord is just going to say, come on home, your time is done, good and faithful servant. Didn't even know if I was going to be alive on the planet. But every day, even in the midst of being in a chemotherapy space up in the hospital, I'm on meetings, on the phone, trying to do that. Got up every day feeling sick with the chemo, put a tie-on going out. My wife said, baby, just lay down. Like, can't stop, won't stop. Why? Because I will never allow misery to have the last word. You should never, young people, allow misery to have the last word. Next slide. So what lessons, right, are these spaces teaching us? Let's keep going. Next slide. I want you to know that each of you young people is a seed of divinely inspired possibility. So I want everybody to repeat after me. I need everybody in a loud voice. Y'all feeling me? Yeah. So those of you taking a note, this is one you want to take a note on. All right, say each of us.
Each of us.
Oh, that sounds like a third of the audience right there. Right? Let's try everybody, right? Even those folk kind of nodding on me. Wake him up. Wake him up. Wake him up. Pay attention, young man. You with me? Right? I need you feeling me right here. Right? All right. Each of us
Each of us
is a seed
is a seed
of divinely inspired possibility,
of divinely inspired possibilities,
which when nurtured
which we nurture
in its proper context,
with the proper context,
can and will grow
and it will grow
into the fullest expression
into the fullest expression
of all we are supposed to become.
of all we're supposed to become.
How does it feel to think about yourself as a seed of divinely inspired possibility? And all you gotta do is figure out, how do I find that nurturing soil, like campuses like Dominguez Hills, like schools, right, and universities around the nation, jobs, families, that are the soil into which your divine seed of possibility can be placed and grow. Always look for some nurturing soil. Also, I want you to know, the biggest problem that confronts our people, you turn on the news any night, just pick a channel. What will you see? Biggest problems: drugs, racism, gang members, violence, war, right? Poverty, white supremacy. They're all formidable obstacles. Don't get it twisted. But hear me well, young people. The biggest problem we face as people of color, particularly black and brown folk, poor Asian folk, poor white folk, the biggest problem we face is not drugs, gangs, violence, poverty, or racism. It is what I call the need for mental liberation. Everybody say mental liberation.
Mental liberation.
Here's what you need to know. Anytime a group of people go to oppress you in history, the first thing they lock down are your ankles so you can't run, your hands so you can't move. The next thing they do is they put a shackle on your brain. So that even when they give you the illusion of emancipation, oh, you didn't hear me. Even when they give you the illusion of emancipation, 1863 or 5, wherever you were in the country, right when they passed the Emancipation Proclamation, they'll take the shackles off of your hands and your ankles, as long as they still got a shackle on this. And part of what you want to do, if you read Carter G. Woodson's The Miseducation of the Negro, what he argues is that if you allow a people to control the way you think, you don't have to assign them to an inferior status. If necessary, they will seek it for themselves. The biggest problem we have in our community, in my opinion as a humble psychologist, is the need for mental liberation. Your education should be the key that begins to unlock systematically the shackles of conceptual incarceration that have us thinking that we can't do it, we don't belong, it's too expensive, there's no way out, nobody loves me. All those are shackles we want to unlock, to unleash your power that you have with you in that divine spirit. Also, I want you to know about real power. Real power is not military might. It's not who got the biggest, baddest police force, or who's standing out on the street corner with a gat and a beaker and a wad of money in the pocket. That's an illusion of power. Real power, young people, is the ability to define reality and to make other people respond to that definition as if it were their own. That is real power. You want to seize your power by allowing yourself to define and frame the narratives in your own life. Never allow people, right, to define and frame the narrative for you. Think for yourself. Believe for yourself. The astronaut Mae Jemison, right, brilliant sister, reminds us that we should never be limited by other people's limited imaginations. I got 2 more things to get to and then I'm done. Brother Fanon, Frantz Fanon, the great Algerian psychiatrist, says there are 3 questions everybody ought to be able to ask and answer. Question 1, I want everybody repeating after me. Who am I?
Who am I?
Question 2, am I who I say I am?
Am I who I say I am?
And question 3, am I all I ought to be?
Am I all I ought to be?
So let's go through again. Question 1, who am I?
Who am I?
Am I who I say I am?
Am I who I say I am?
Am I all I ought to be?
Am I all I ought to be?
Who am I is a question of my identity. What is my nature, my essence, my character? And this is what is so critical. And that's why I started out this presentation by saying there's a difference between what you do for a living and who you are. Ideas, ironically, should be the substance of behavior. So if you want to know why a person acts the way they do, just get up in their head and look at how they think. And the more distorted the behavior, the more distorted the thinking. You want to know why we got so many conditions in our community? Brothers and even sisters now. Who are you? I'm a Crip, I'm a blood. Really? Really? You fight over concrete you don't own and colors you didn't invent. Don't want to square into that concrete and fight over it. Taking each other's life. Over $10 of crack, fight over drugs in the community. Really? And don't know who you are. Instead of being able to understand that I am a seed of divinely inspired possibility. And if you can't provide me with some nurturing soil to help me grow, then get out of my way with what you all be talking to people about. Who am I as critical? Am I who I say I am is a question of congruence. Big fancy word that means, what is the level of overlap between what I say I am and how I act? You've got to be able to bring your behavior in line with your right thinking. So if you say I want to be smart, you got to act like you want to be smart. If you say you're a seed of divinely inspired possibility, you've got to be that. I need you to put a high degree of congruence between what you say and what you do. And third, and my all ought to be, recognizes that each of you have been endowed with your parents as the instrument, right? With attributes that come from the ancestors and the Creator. Everything you need to be successful, young people, is already in you, given to you by the ancestors and the Creator through your parents who brought you into this world. All you got to do is recognize and understand, am I living up to my potential? Whenever I do this thing, whenever I look myself in the mirror every day and say, yes, I'm prepared to actualize my potential. And then remember this, as I think about the psychologist in me, I remind folk all the time that life at its best is a creative synthesis of opposites in fruitful harmony. Let me say that again. Let everybody say that with me. Life at its best.
Life at its best
is a creative synthesis.
Is a creative synthesis
of opposites.
Of opposites.
In fruitful harmony.
In fruitful harmony.
What does it mean? It means that sometimes your greatest strength can be your greatest weakness. Sometimes your greatest weakness, your greatest strength. Just depends on the context. Sometimes your best strength can be your worst nightmare. Sometimes your worst nightmare, right, can be your greatest strength. I'll end with this story. Because people wonder, how do you get to do what you do? How does a young boy from around the way, I grew up in the South Central Los Angeles, in the body of East LA, over in the Crenshaw District, West LA, I remember LA home. 27 years of age, I became a doctor. How does a young kid out of South Central rise up and become the first African-American academic psychologist the University of Pennsylvania ever hired in its 200-something year history after it was founded by Ben Franklin? If you ever get on Jeopardy, you know that. And I don't say that in my fault. What I want you to do is to recognize that even in the midst of synthesizing opposites, I was blessed, like a lot of you are, to be real bright. I could go to class and pay attention and still do better than most of my peers who studied all night long. My greatest asset. But it became my worst nightmare. Why? Because it made me a lazy student. How many folk know, who'll be honest with me today, are not working to their potential in school? Where we at? How many of us get lazy sometimes? How many of us don't do the work we should be doing? Yes? Some of us get bored, some of us get whatever. Why? I was that kid. I was you. And my mom would tell me, boy, you get these kind of good grades and you don't do no work. If you did a little bit of work, you'd be brilliant. And I'm doing the same thing y'all do. Oh, mom, in one ear, out the other. Yes? Yeah. Until my first mentor met me in college. And I took his class, performed well, got an A, in fact, got an A+ out of it, which was hard. And 2 months after class, I'm walking down the aisle. And I said, hey, Dr. White, how you doing? Like any respectful student would do. And he simply walked up to me and he put his arm around me and he said, young brother, he said, you have too much talent. You are too brilliant to be running out here playing basketball chasing women. True story. Come follow me. Now, the last person I heard say, come follow me, was walking on water in the Bible. He ain't quite walked on water yet. but he was pretty close while he was alive on the planet. And he diagrammed my whole future on the chalkboard. He said, I'm gonna make you my teaching assistant because you did well and your job is to help your peers. And then we send you to grad school. And then I want you to be good, get a master's, and then we're gonna get a PhD. And the more he talked, the bigger my eyes get. Because I'm not even dreaming about these possibilities till he's put these ideas in my head. And then he said, you can be writing books, you can be famous, but I'm not seeing you gotta be clinically good. You gotta be clinically good, academically good, research good, you gotta be blah, 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 be the best. And then he said, one day, it's like a shaft record. He said, one day you're gonna be a bad mother. He said, but don't you ever forget to be a basic brother. What was he saying? He said, never lose the touch of being able to connect up with your people, right? And forget where you came from. And you'll be able to walk with presidents. I got pictures of Barack Obama on my cell phone. But I'm always, right, working with folk in the community, which is why I opened up the grounds of this campus to the community. This is the people's house. This is where you belong. And I would love to see each and every one of you work hard to earn your way into a place where you belong right here at your California State University, Dominguez Hills. This is where, right, you can create a pathway to produce the excellence we know that will improve your trajectory. And every college degree you get improves your trajectory exponentially for the rest of your life. With that, I want to say good morning and say thank you. Say bless you. And I celebrate all of you for being the seeds of divinely inspired possibility that you are. With that, I'll stop and say it. Okay, thank you for that. So, let me have my MSA folks stand up for me. Come on. One of the things we also want to do is make sure that we are profiling, right? Make sure we are profiling what is called our Male Success Alliance. Come on. You're like, what am I doing on stage? I want you to stand right in the middle of these two brothers. Right? One of the things we are blessed to have on this campus, because we're standing up a whole new generation of folk, is a Male Success Alliance. You see these brothers, see the profile, you know, the swag they got? They look good?
Yeah. We call it drip these days, but you know,
that's
same
it.
thing.
Same thing. Talk about it.
What's going on, party people? How we doing? Good to see y'all. My name is Hakeem Koum. I have the divine assignment of being the director of the Male Success Alliance. I'm from Harlem, New York, 3,000 miles over that way, over here on the West Coast. Love being here, love being at Dominguez, love doing the work that I do to help brothers, black and brown, actualize their goals and be somebody in the world. To humanize black and brown males, letting them know that they have so much worth and value and what they can give to the world. And to just, you know, follow your goals, follow your dreams, and have other brothers that look like you who hold you accountable to making sure that you do those things. So everything that Dr. Parham said, D. Smoke said, we're all from that same cloth. As far as you being able to do the things that you put your mind to, right? All you need is mentorship and people that love on you and pour into you and let you know that you can be who you think you should be and that you want to be in the world, right? We all come from particular circumstances. I was one of those kids too, coming from Harlem, New York, poverty, drugs, everything. I saw it all, right? And so to be here today, 35 years old, doing what I'm doing, a husband, a father, living in California, I still have rose-colored glasses when I drive, like, man, look at the palm trees, this is great, this is a great environment coming from where I came from, right? But when I was in Harlem at that age, I didn't know I could do all of these things, right? And so to be here is a wonderful thing. And so I want to give the mic to a student named Nasir. He'll introduce himself and give a little bit of background on where he comes from. He works for us, and he's a telltale sign of brothers doing great work and continuing to carve their path and being great and doing great things in the world. So I'll give it to Nasir.
How are you doing today? My name is Nasir Vasquez. I'm a second year audio engineering manager here at DH. And everything that these brothers have been saying all day is really just a testament to my journey too, because starting off, I come from Pomona, California, and I didn't even want to come to college at first. I didn't think it was for me. I didn't think I could make this way or be one of the brothers on campus that could hold one of these crests and make a positive change. But after being in it for a year now and just seeing how everything played its part, it's kind of like how Hakeem said, just looking up, like I come from so little, but I'm able to do so much of what I had. So that's most definitely a testimony to me. Thank you all.
young brother. Put you on the spot over here. What's your name?
Ryan, my name's Ryan.
What school do you attend?
Paul Revere. I go to Paul Revere.
So what do you want to study? What do you think? What's something that interests you or something that you're passionate about?
Well, I guess I'm interested into, digital imaging. I mean, it's very cool. I mean, it could be better.
You're gonna make it better. That part. And so having young brothers like this right in front of us and on stage, like this is the potential. This is where the next generation is going. We see as far as artificial intelligence, media, marketing, right? And you, hopefully you will choose the biggest as your family and as your village to help you get there. So as far as the MSA and us being at the biggest, you can find us on Instagram. I know all of y'all got Instagram. Raise your hand if you have Instagram. Everybody got IG, right? I will give you our email, but I know that's like harder to kind of, follow up on. So IG might be the easiest. So you can follow us at Mel Success Alliance, in one word, at Mel Success Alliance. If you want to send us a direct message on there, we have our students that check our messaging box, our DM every day. So just send an inquiry. Like if you want to tap into our programs, we offer a lot of different things in the community. We have something called our Spring Summit that happens in April. We invite about 15 to 20 high schools in the South Bay area, from Inglewood all the way to Gardena, Hawthorne, and the likes. About 400 to 500 high school students. So the date is April 25th. That's going to be on a Thursday. So make sure if you talk to your counselors at your high school, your guidance counselor, make sure that they know about the MSA Spring Summit in April. We want to see you back on our campus and pour into you. So this is one conference. We also have another one that we offer specifically for Dominguez students and students that want to come to Dominguez, to give them an understanding of college, pathways, how to get in and how to succeed. So thank you all for your time. Thank you to President Parham for allowing us to speak. And I hope that you have a wonderful time at the conference, at the summit. Take everything from it, right? They say that when it comes to empowerment, right? Being knowledge is power. We all know that, right? But to be powerful, it then becomes the application of that power. That's when you become powerful. Application of that knowledge, Knowledge is power, but you have to apply that knowledge. So take everything that you heard today and think about deeply how does this impact you? What can you do to continue to grow and develop? So thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Give it up for our Male Success Alliance. You too will be part of that. Derek, go to the second to the last slide. I'm done. So I want to bring on the next photo. Second to the last slide. All right? So I want to leave you with this. The great Algerian psychiatrist Frantz Fanon, who I've spoken with the 3 critical questions, reminds us all the time that each generation out of relative obscurity must reach out and seek to fulfill its legacy or betray it. Want to know what motivates me to do what I do? Is I am blessed to have inherited a legacy of struggle by the ancestors who struggled long and hard before I was even on the planet to make sure that I could occupy this space and time. Each of you students has the same opportunity to fulfill the legacy you've been blessed to inherit or betray it. I need you every day when you go to school, wherever your school district is, when you engage in civic activities, when you think about plotting your trajectory toward greatness in college and beyond. I need you thinking about when you look in the mirror in the morning and when you go to bed at night, have I fulfilled or betrayed my legacy? Each of you, right, has an opportunity to fulfill a legacy or betray it. So everybody after me, let's go home. Each of us has an opportunity to fulfill our legacy or betray it. I plan on fulfilling my legacy. With that, I'll stop. It's been my pleasure. I'm Dr. Thomas Parham. Welcome to your campus of Cal State University. Take care.